Hey guys! Let's continue on this October train, shall we? Alright, so today I want to talk about... Okay, so horror movies scare us. You know, whatever. They give us cheap little adrenaline rushes, thrills. They're scary, okay? But I want to talk about my top 10 legitimately scared me movies. So other than my number one movie, these aren't really in a particular order, but I want to go over some of the moments in movies that genuinely scared me, which I think if you're a horror movie and you have a moment that legitimately leaves an impression that lasts like more than a couple hours, you done your work. You did good. So let's go over my top 10 scariest, actually scared me movies. For number 10, I have Gerald's Game. Gerald's Game left an impression. It's based off a Stephen King novel, which I started to read and never finished. But it was released on Netflix August 21st. I remember very specifically because it was the day of the eclipse. At least if it wasn't released on August 21st, it was released a day or two before of last year, because there was the big eclipse and it was like, oh, the movie has an eclipse in it, whatever. But for some reason last August is just very ingrained in my mind, like a lot of stuff happened. But anyway, Gerald's Game. So if you haven't seen any of these movies, there might be some spoilers. But there is a person in the movie called the Midnight Man. And so in Gerald's Game, this wife and husband, they start fooling around. He handcuffs her to the bed. She's not cool with it. She kicks him off of her. He has a heart attack, dies. So she is basically just handcuffed to this bed 4 days. And at night, she, whether it's in her mind or if it's really happening, whatever, she has this thing that comes and visits her called the Midnight Man. And Netflix did an incredible job of making this character scary. They did this effect with its eyes. And so the one part in particular, like she looks up and he's standing there, and whatever they did to his eyes, like it was really cool. Like they put an eclipse, a solar eclipse, like in his eye, made it look incredibly creepy. That stuck with me, and I couldn't stop picturing it, and it creeped me out so bad that night, last August, when I was 27, I had to go to bed that night with a lamp on. I had to get up early the next morning. My husband did not, so he was staying up later than I was. So until he came to bed, I had to sleep with a lamp on, which I have not had to do that in a very long time. So yeah, Gerald's Game definitely left an impression on me. Like that character, for whatever reason, it hit me right where... yeah, it scared the crap out of me. So number 9 is Watcher in the Woods. Now this has been on our movie list for October a couple of times. It's from the 80s, early 80s is when I grew up watching. And there are parts in that movie that have to do with mirrors. And that has never left me. Like, anytime like I'm feeling a little creepy, I will just like expect to look in a mirror and see a blindfolded girl standing there like trying to talk to me and no sound is coming out of her mouth. That movie left an impression. Plus, there's a part in the movie where like they do this voice modification with the little girl, and that was seriously really creepy. That has stuck with me all these years. So yeah, if you have not seen Watcher in the Woods, it's a Disney movie. But it's like kind of sci-fi, kind of horror, like it's really good. Definitely check it out. Oh my goodness. Number 8 is The Possession. Now, The Possession stars Papa Winchester, or as most people might know him, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. But it's a movie about possession, devil possession, and there is one part in the movie that to this day, if I sit and think about it hard and long enough, I will get so creeped out. Oh my God, I get flustered. All the lights need to come on, like I need to be in a safe space. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan, his daughter is possessed. They're at a hospital. It's near the end of the movie. Anyway, so she runs away. He chases her down into like the basement of the hospital. The power goes out, and there's just like this red emergency light on, and she's standing like right underneath it. And once again, they do something like a voice modification, and where she's just saying something, I want to say, and she's like producing this laugh, and it just repeats like a record skipping. Oh my God, it's one of the creepiest things I've ever seen, and like I said, if I think about it long and hard enough, I get so freaked out, and I haven't even seen it in a year or so, and like, I don't know why that struck a chord, but that part of the movie, like, it stays with you. Number 7. This is definitely a foundation for horror for me. In the Mouth of Madness, starring Sam Neill, which, I mean, Jurassic Park, Event Horizon. But this movie, In the Mouth of Madness, is seriously messed up. I think I would have to watch it again to make sense of it all again. But there is a part in the movie that to this day is the reason why if I'm driving down the highway at night, I can't look out my side window. I have to look straight ahead, because in the movie, Sam Neill is driving at night on the highway, and like he's getting tired, and all of a sudden like he looks out his side mirror or side window, and there's this guy with like really wispy white hair, like on a bicycle, like beside him on the highway, and like he goes past the car, like the bicyclist like goes past the car and ahead of him, and like that, yeah, I cannot look out my driver's side window at night if I'm driving on the highway, because that, yeah, is so creepy. Yeah, and I mean, I saw that movie for the first time when I was 13, so yeah, it has stuck with me for quite a while. Number 6 is Grave Encounters. Now, that's a newer movie, it's a newer concept, it's found footage, it's basically just making fun of Ghost Adventures, but I still kind of love it. Like, it's still a really good movie, and I guess I can't pin down one particular part, but like the whole movie, I mean, hands reaching down through the ceiling is pretty creepy, but like the whole movie, like because it's such a real situation, especially for someone who likes to go into abandoned buildings or haunted buildings and spend the night if I could, or talk to ghosts, try and capture stuff. Like, it's a very real situation that things could turn bad real quick. And so, yeah. Creepy movie, but very good. And the sequel, shockingly good. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. Number 5. This one may not seem like it fits in, but Aliens. The sequel to Alien, far superior to the first one. First one's still good, but you may not think scary when you think aliens, but to me, the xenomorphs are terrifying. Like, if you really look at them, they're terrifying. And there's a part in Aliens where they're all crowded in this room, their sensors going off, like the beep, 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 to let them know that aliens are near. And they can't figure out where they are, and like the dots are like in the room with them, and they can't figure out, there's none in here, like where are they? So then someone gets the idea to look in the ceiling, and the shot that terrifies me, no matter how many times I watch it, and when I think back to it, I'm just like so the one Marine lifts up the ceiling panel, and looks in, and there, I mean, it's like dark except for his flashlight, and there are just xenomorphs just crawling towards him in this like air vent. No, I don't like it. It terrifies me, and my husband finds it hilarious that it scares me so much, but it does. Number 4, Mama. So this is a slightly newer movie too. Has Jamie Lannister in it. But I mean, the movie in and of itself is pretty creepy, but there's this one part where it turns out the chick is dreaming, but their little girl like walks in the room and is kind of staring like under the bed, and the woman laying in bed is like, is it under the bed? And like the camera pans down, and the mama like creature, which is really creepy, like the eyes are, yeah, is like holding on under the bed and like looks at the little girl and then like claws through the bed. It's terrifying, like absolutely terrifying. Like I remember after Shane and I went to that movie, I was so glad I did not have a bed that was on a bed frame. My box spring mattress sat on the floor, and I was so relieved. Number 3 is Woman in Black. And really, it's just I can't do women in veils. Cannot do it, especially black or dark veils. Like, a bride is not like that creepy in the right sense, like, but I can't do women with veils. And that's all Woman in Black is. That's the whole thing. Number 2 is Paranormal Activity. Now this franchise has kind of become a joke, but when it first came out, like, that was legit stuff. It was when the found footage craze like was starting to just start up again, and it was rough because I was going through some stuff in my life at that point in time that was very similar to what I was watching in Paranormal Activity, and it just hit a little too close to home. And so I remember the night that I watched it, I did not sleep that night. I just stayed up all night and read and was on the computer and just did pretty much anything I could just to not be asleep. And number 1, this should be pretty obvious, The Blair Witch Project. This is the first movie, other than The Stand when I was like insanely little, but that's a whole nother thing. This is the first movie I remember really scaring me. And the thing that makes it so poignant, I wasn't even watching the movie. So when I was little, we lived in our old house in Mitchell. Each room was connected to the other room by a heat vent, like a really old-fashioned heat vent. So basically it was just, open space between rooms, so you could hear everything going on in the next room. Which was silly. My parents should have realized that. So I was sent to my room because Blair Witch Project was rated R and I was not allowed to watch it. And at the time, for very good reasons, because if you have not seen that movie, the F word is their favorite word in that movie. And I was like 8. But I heard everything. So I'm sitting there, like, I can hear the movie's getting really intense because I hear a lot of screaming, and I'm like, well, that's weird. So, like, I went over to the heat vent and I was listening, and all I could hear was them screaming for Josh, and like him muffled, like, screaming back in their terror. And yeah, and that scared me so bad. And like I ended up going back in my room, or like away from the heat vent, just like, okay, well, I'm good, like, that was enough for me. And then a few years later, when I finally saw it for myself, oh my god, it definitely held up, that's for sure. It was not a disappointment. And like I've said many times, the part where they're in the tent and they hear the little kids laughing and then the baby cry, one of the scariest things ever in any movie. Alright guys, so there are my top 10 scariest movies that actually scared me. Alright, I hope you enjoyed. If you have movies that genuinely scared you, let me know. Leave those down in the comments below. Alright, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later.